So this is a set of full cover tips and I'm going to start with sizing up the nails. I've already done my natural nail prep. If you need additional help with natural nail prep, then there are plenty of videos to help you with this. So the key to sizing up the nails is to make sure that the tip fits from sidewall to sidewall. With some nails you may need to adjust this with a 240 grit file, just filing the sides or the cuticle area to make sure it fits nice and snug onto the natural nail. So to check, I place the tip onto the nail as it would sit once it's been applied, and I will check each sidewall while it's firmly on there just to check that there's no gaps. If you do experience a slight gap, try bringing the tip slightly down from the cuticle and you may find that this then fits perfectly. In the manual you'll see some tips and tricks on how to adjust tips. If you do have to bring it down slightly, I will just thin out the cuticle area and fill in that gap with builder gel. So it is quite handy to have some knowledge on builder gel application as well. This nail that I'm fitting here does have a high apex, but you just need to add a little bit more gel onto the tip when you apply, and that will help tackle that. And it will be covered later on in this video. So now just watching me double check the sizes. This tip is actually way too big. It comes way over the sidewalls. So I go a size down and you'll see that that fits perfectly. You'll also see that to the right of where my hands are is a little palette, a brush holder, and I place the tips in there to keep them in place before I apply. It has little ridges where you would normally hold a brush, but it's perfect for keeping full cover tips. I like to keep organised, so I make sure that everything goes away when I'm not using it. I pop that to the side so I don't knock it over because I can be quite clumsy. This particular brand that I'm using here is Nail Order. I use their 2-in-1 primer to actually etch the tips, and I use their Ultima gel for the application. So it's called X Prep for my preparation. Now the nails are already prepped, so I'll go in and give them just a little wipe over. And this is just using a microfiber brush and a bit of acetone just to make sure there's no dust or debris lurking around and going to affect my prep. Using a different microfiber for the next hand. So just popped some gloves on and just getting my lamp ready. And this is a portable lamp and it flash cures the tips before you pop them into the lamp to cure. It's always good to check that it's in a good position for you to be able to move your client's hand over to the lamp. Now I'm going to go in with the X Prep and I'm just doing a layer on the natural nails. This only needs to be a thin layer and I've sped this up because it is just painting on a thin layer of prep. It's quite a thick solution, but is relatively easy to apply one thin layer. So now we're going to start with prepping this tip. This is another way that I do. Instead of etching, I use the X Prep, which is a 2-in-1 primer and etcher. And you can apply to the length of the nail, and then you'll see me going in a rubbing motion. And what this does is it creates an etched effect. It's a lot quicker, a lot simpler than having to etch the inside of the tip. And I've used this method on many clients and I find it quite effective. Now I'm going to go in with the Ultima gel. Ultima. And you see I'm just applying a bit, and look at how I'm holding the tip. And then when I go from this position to applying it on the nail, it's just a quick flip over, chuck the lamp on. I'm a little bit fiddly here. I wasn't completely ready. And at a 45-degree angle, you apply it at the cuticle, keeping the same pressure. And notice my thumb is over the free edge. So any gel that comes out from the free edge that overspills will not be cured. So I can easily wipe this away. And you hold it here for about 10 seconds. And I've just moved my thumb slightly up because some of the gel came away. So as I was curing, I just pushed some of that gel back up towards the cuticle area to make sure that that cuticle area had adhered properly. And I'm going in with my little micro brush to clean up underneath. And I'm just checking that there's just a little bit of gel undercured there at the cuticle area. So I'm just holding it down tight while it cures, and that's sorted that problem. You'll be able to tell if some of the gel has come away from the cuticle area. You can either file that away and infill with builder gel, or you can try and squeeze some of that gel back towards the cuticle if it still hasn't cured fully and it's still movable. If it's not movable anymore, you will just have to file it away and infill that gap that you filed away with builder gel. So back onto the next nail. Give that a swift up and down motion, and you can check the tip once you've done this to check that you can see etched marks in it. So another bead on the nail. At the cuticle area at a 45-degree angle, firm grip, and keep that pressure as you lower the tip down, keeping your thumb over where the free edge is. Hold underneath that light. You don't want to get too close to the light because then you will get heat spikes coming away. You can see slightly here where that gel has seeped out. That's quite a lot. I'm just checking that there's nothing come out from the cuticle and sidewalls, which is fine. And just clean up underneath. I do get a little bit of acetone sometimes if the natural nails are quite short, just to make sure that I'm cleaning from the skin if anything has got onto the skin. Once I'm happy with the cleanup, I will just pop it back under the lamp while I'm getting the next tip ready. So I'm just popping that X Prep on the tip, and you'll do that right up until sort of the length of the natural nail on that tip. And we go back and forth to create that etched tip. This method won't work for every brand. Every brand has a different application method. So going in with the Ultima gel, 45-degree angle, and you want to keep that pressure, same pressure that you're applying at the cuticle area, all the way down. So you don't want to lift up, you want to keep that pressure. So that can take some practice, but once you've got that knack, it does get easier. So again, holding for approximately 10 seconds before you're taking it out from the light. And then with a microfiber, I don't know if it's called a microfiber, micro brush we'll call it, and just wiping away anything that has leaked out onto that free edge. And then you can, once you've cleaned out from underneath, you can then pop that back under the light to continue curing while you get set up for the next nail. So here what I was going to do was I was going to do a layer of Ultima Gel and then go in with the tip, but I decided against it because the high apex wasn't that high. It was still a high apex, but I don't think it warranted me to do any adjustments on the fitting. So I'm just going to go in as I normally would with the X Prep. And all I'm going to do for this high apex is just add a little bit more gel than what I normally would. And then when it comes to me actually applying it, I'm not going to push it all the way to the free edge and sort of lay it completely flat. I'm going to leave it slightly raised, just very slightly, so that the nail still looks flat. You can see I'm just adding a little bit more gel on there. So instead of me pushing all the way down so it lays completely flat to the nail, I'm using some of that gel. As soon as I see it's hit that free edge, I stop pushing down and put it under the light. And this will create sort of like a thickness of the gel at the end of the free edge to counteract for how much the natural nail curves down. This does take a little bit of practice. But you can see I'm not taking away much gel from underneath because I haven't pushed it all the way down. It hasn't all come out towards the free edge. If you were to look down the barrel of the nail of that one, you would see that there was a slightly thicker amount of gel at the free edge of the natural nail. So I'm going to zoom in on this application of the thumb, and you can see I've put the X Prep onto the tip and I'm just rubbing up and down, and you can vaguely see from this video the little lines that it's creating on the tip. And now I'm going to go in with my Ultima Gel. And you should be able to see from this angle just how much pressure I have on the nail and how evenly it is to how the gel then moves. There was a little bit that came out then, and I've just pressed that onto the tip. So it is a little bit messy on that thumb, but the way I did that is I wiped with my glove and then wiped it on top of the tip because I didn't want to let go of my application. The application was good. I just had a little bit of gel come out and you can't really see where I've wiped that on top. So I'm just going to clean the underneath now. I'm happy with that clean up. Place that back under. I wiped it on the top because I do buff over the nails anyway. So if there was any seepage and you can get to it quickly, just wipe onto the top of it and then clean your glove after. So I'm going to leave you to watch the next 5 nails without me going through it. It's exactly the same method for each nail. I don't do anything any differently. So the only thing that I change is I pop the other hand that's done into the lamp to cure, and I put that on low heat mode for 90 seconds, and I move the portable lamp to the other side so that it's easier for my client to manoeuvre their hand to the side without me having to move the tips or mess up with that at all. While we cover that, if a client does move their hands awkwardly and you don't realise and it cures the nail on at an awkward angle, you will have to cut that back with some cutters, some nail cutters, and soak that off and reapply. So it's really, really important that your client understands they need to move freely with you as you move their hand from being in front of you over to the lamp, like this. If they are awkward in any way or they slightly move the angle, it could move the tip and lead that to being cured on incorrectly. So that's it. I will leave you to watch the rest of this hand and I will be back when that's finished. So that's the application finished, and I'm going to pop that hand in the other lamp to cure for the full time. And while that's curing, I'll clean up all the mess to prevent from any overexposure. And just give my desk a general tidy up so that I can go in and refine these nails before I go in with a colour. So now I'm going in with a hand file. Sometimes on tips you get that little knobbly bit at the top. So I'm just going in and making sure that this is nice and flush and there's no little knobbly bits on the tip, very, very tip. So making it all nice and smooth. And I will go in and do that on all 10 nails. I'm using a 150/180 grit file, but barely any pressure. You could use a 240 grit. I just like the size of this file in particular. I'm not changing the shape in any way. I'm just literally making sure it's tailored to that client. If it comes out slightly, I will go down the sides like this. That you can see I'm going just slightly around the client's natural free edge just to make sure that that shape fits in perfectly. So now I'm going to go in and tidy up around the cuticle and side walls. I use the Nicole refining bit from Katie Barnes Tool Range. Every now and then I do need to go in and clean this bit because it does get clogged a little bit with the tip. And I'm just going around very, very gently on a speed of between 15 and 20. Dusting as I go to make sure that I can see exactly where I'm going. And what this does is it helps with removing any gel that may have overspilled from the sidewalls or cuticle, and it also helps you thin out that cuticle area a little bit if it needs it. If you're not e-file trained, you can do this with a hand file. It's just sometimes easier to get in with an e-file piece because sometimes it's only tiny amounts of gel. You can use a smaller nail file if you wish. And one of the minis from Katie Barnes would be perfect for getting into small, hard to reach areas. And if there isn't much at all, then I would just go in with a sanding band, just to make sure it's nice and smooth before I go in with my gel polish application. This nail in particular had a little bit that hadn't quite adhered to the nail, so I needed to thin it out so that I could remove some of this easily. So I do go from the Nicole over to the mini 5-in-1 medium. The reason I go over to the mini 5-in-1 isn't to take it completely off, it's just to thin out some of that product. So when I go in with a hand file, it's much easier. So my aim is to go in here nice and gentle, so that you're not taking loads away and risk getting to that natural nail. Just nice and thin, checking how much you've removed. I'm quite happy with that. Just giving that Nicole bit a little clean. I'm just going in and just thinning that out a little bit more before I go in with my hand file. Always checking with the client that it's not getting too hot. This bit is actually really, really good. It didn't get that hot at all for the client. Always move the client to where it feels comfortable for you to get into that angle. If you're trying to get into an awkward angle, that's when you could risk getting cuts or anything like that on the client's skin. And you can see here that is coming away nicely. It's just that little bit there that I'm just showing you there. I wouldn't cut it with my cuticle scissors. That was just to show you how much of a smaller piece I was trying to get rid of. And then I'm just smoothing the rest of that tip so that it blends nicely. Down the side wall. And then removing any product from the top that I applied there earlier by accident. So because these tips are fully clear, you do need to go in and buff so that you're getting rid of the shine before you go in with your colour. So I'm just going in with my Katie Barnes mini buffing block, and then any bits that I see that I need to remove or kind of tailor that shape a little bit more to make it look more fitting to the client's nail. And then any bits that I see, I will just remove as I go. Just smoothing out that cuticle area a little bit before I go in with my buffer. And then I will repeat this on all 10. This client's cuticles were a big job for me, so there is going to be some little bits that I still need to take away before I go in and paint, which is absolutely fine. And then once you have finished with all of your refining, you can then go in with either your builder gel, which I would recommend you only need a thin layer or enough to build up if you've had to fit your tips slightly down. And then you can go in and design as you wish. This is the end result, and we used a gel polish and a glitter for the tips with just a small amount of builder on some of them around the cuticle area to build strength.